Good afternoon, students. Can you see the screen, students? Is the screen visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Right. So last time we had looked into learning and development. Okay. So crystallized gazing into future world of learning, how it is going to impact the training in future. Okay. So let us move on to process of training. Okay. So in the training process, first part is need assessment, right? So before conducting the training in an organization, need is to be assessed. Need of training is to be assessed, right? So need assessment basically diagnoses the present problems and future challenges to be met through training and development, right? So it goes into diagnosing the present problems and what would be the future challenges that is being predicted, and based on that the training is being conducted. So organization basically spends vast amount of money, okay, on training and development. So before committing such huge resource, okay, financial resource towards training, organization would do well to assess the training needs of their employees. Okay, so that is the first step of training process, right? So for example, basically a need assessment exercise might reveal that less costly interventions, that is selection, compensation package, or job redesign, could be used in lieu of training. Okay, so all these things are being assessed. So need assessment occurs basically at two levels. One is at the group level and one is at the individual level. Okay, so at individual level, the need of training when his or her performance falls short of expectations, right? So whenever the performance, I have already told about the competency mapping, right, and performance appraisal, right? So whenever the performance of the employee is not to the expected mark, okay, that time we understand that there is some problem in the knowledge, skill, and ability of that particular employee. Understand what is the gap, and then finalize the training what is to be given to bridge that particular gap. Okay, so that is nothing but the individual level assessment, right? So when it comes to group level assessment, my dear students, so it is basically the team, the group which is being identified, and whatever the organization level assessment also is being done. So any changes which are going to happen in the organization, it may be the process of production, it may be any other changes which the strategy is being driven. Based on that, the need is being assessed. Okay, so assessment of training needs also focuses on anticipated skills for the employee. Okay, so technological changes or maybe new technological demands or new skills demand, everything goes in for bringing in the training need for the organization. Okay, so it is basically necessary for that the employee be trained to acquire new skills, right? So it also helps in career progression of the employees. So that is one of the that is the first step of training, that is need assessment, right? Then afterwards, we go in for the second step, second process of training, that is deriving instructional objectives. So once you assess the need, okay, why training is to be given or what type of training is to be given, who is to be trained, right, where the training is to be given, okay, and when the training is to be given, everything is being assessed. After assessing all this, then you go for deriving instructional objectives, right? So this is the next phase of training process, wherein you identify instructional objectives. Okay, so need assessment basically helps prepare a blueprint. So it helps in preparing a blueprint which describes the objectives to be achieved by the training. Okay, so here after assessing the need, they go in for deriving the objective. So objective is entirely based on the need which is being understood by the organization, right? So here what happens is you go in for achieving the trainees needs as well as achieving the objectives of the training program. So instructional objectives provide the input for designing the training program. So based on the objective, the training program is designed. Okay, and also the measure of success also is being derived based on the objectives of the training program, right? So here below are there are some sample instructions objectives for the training program. For example, the salesperson, right? So after training, the employee will be able to smile at all customers even when exhausted or ill, unless the customer is irate, right? So after the second objective, basically after training, the employee will be able to accurately calculate marked down on all sales merchandise, that is 30% markdown or something like that. So this is basically nothing but called as deriving instructional objectives which should be measurable. Okay, so that is one thing which is to be understood here. Then afterwards they go in for designing training and development programs. So once you assess the need, once you derive the objectives, then you go in for designing the training program, okay, and designing the developing program, right? So here every training and development program addresses certain vital issues. Now who is to participate? What are the vital issues? One is who is to participate in the program, who is the person who will be participating in the program, who are the trainers, okay, who will be giving the training to the trainees, right? Then what method or technique of training is to be utilized or used, right? And what should be the level of training, okay? What would be the principles of learning? We have already learned the principles of learning in the previous slides. And where is the program to be conducted? Okay, these are the various things to be understood while designing the training and development programs, right? Now, who are the trainees? Okay, trainees are selected based on the basis of self nomination. Okay, so employee may nominate himself that I want to undergo this particular training program, or based on the recommendations of the supervisors or the HR department based on the need assessment, whatever is being done. The HR or supervisors, they just give the recommendation that these are the people who should undergo this type of training. Okay, so whatever is the basis, it is advisable to have two or more target audience, right? So, for example, a rank and file employees and their supervisors may affect learn together about a new work process and their respective roles. So, bringing several target audience together can also facilitate group process such as problem solving and decision making elements useful in the quality circle projects, right? So, who are the trainees? Who are the trainers? Okay, so trainers may be the immediate supervisors, they are called as internal trainers, or they may be the co-workers. It may be in the entire in the system, or members of HR staff will be the trainers based on the type of training to be conducted. Then, if it is the training is conducted for some specific purpose or special purpose, so specific or specialist trainers will be there, who can be the part of the organization or who can be outsiders, right? Outside consultants, right? Then industry association members, okay, they can be the trainers, and faculty members at universities, these are the people who will be training the employees, right? So who among these are selected to teach often entirely depends on the program, the training program which is to be held, and the skills which are to be taught. Based on that, they identify who would be the trainer, internal or external. Okay, so here, for example, if you take programs teaching basic skills are usually done by members of the HR department or specialists in the other departments of the company. So basically, if there is something which is very special, which is to be taught to the employees, so that time you need to have a specialist for that. So some technique or maybe some new technology has come in, and you want experts to teach that, you need to go in for hiring outside consultants who are already specialists in that particular technology, right? So like this, you need to understand what exactly is to be trained and what exactly is to be imparted. The skill is to be imparted in the employees, and then based on that, you have to identify who would be the trainer, right? And then you have basically the implementation of training program, right? So while designing the training and development programs, you have to also understand the methods and techniques of training, right? So here you have on the job techniques and off the job techniques, which I have already dealt with. So you identify what would be the type of training is to be given. Should you go for on the job or should you go for off the job training, right? So on the job training and off the job training, various methods of on the job and off the job, I have already told you, okay, in the previous slides, right? So then afterwards, moving on to implementation of training program. So once you design whether the training is to be conducted within the organization or outside the organization, what is the level of training which you are going to conduct, right? And then who is going to be the trainer, who is going to be the trainee, and then finally what type of training is to be given, what type of development programs are to be conducted. After all this thing, you go in for implementing the training program. Okay, so here, while implementing the training program, there are certain things which are to be understood. You have to decide on the location and organizing training and other facilities. Okay, so you have to identify the location, whether you have decided within the organization. If it is within the organization, where would be the training cell B. Okay. And if it is outside the organization, where you are going to conduct the training program, appropriate location for that particular program, and then going for organizing various facilities required for the training to go smoothly, right? So you have to organize all the facilities which are required, and then you have to go in for scheduling the training program. Okay, when it is to be conducted, what is the time of the training, what is the break timing, that is also very very important, my dear students, right? So what is the break timing which is to be given? Okay, so all these things are to be decided while implementing the training program. And then you go for conducting the program, and then finally you go in for monitoring the progress of the program or progress of the trainees. Okay, so here implementation is very very important task. When so implementation is beset with certain problems, right? So in first place, most managers are action oriented and frequently say that they are too busy to engage in training efforts. Secondly, availability of the trainer is a problem. Okay, so cost also do come in into this, as well as because the man hours also are being sacrificed for the training program for whom you are going to train. So in addition to possessing communication skills, the trainer must know the company philosophy, its objectives, the formal and informal organization structures, and the goals of the training program. Okay, so training and development requires high degree of creativity, as well as no understanding the personal specialities, right? So scheduling training also is again a big problem. You have to see to it that you adjust to the timings, you see to it that you give the right proper breaks so that the training becomes very successful. Entire day if you set the training program, okay, it may not be very much possible, so you need to give adequate breaks in between. Okay, so all these things are to be considered while implementing the training program. Then evaluation of the program. Okay, so once you implement the program, once you go in for monitoring the progress of that particular program, you go in for evaluation of the training program. So there are certain principles of evaluation. Okay, so evaluation specialist must be clear about the goals and purpose of evaluation. Okay, so on what basis you are going to evaluate whether the training is successful or no, that principles is to be understood first. Then evaluation must be continuous. Okay, it is not that at the end of the training program you go and evaluate. No, at the beginning of the training program, while the training program is being conducted, as well as at the end of the training program, continuous evaluation is to be done. Continuous evaluation is to be done. Then so that's what we say, evaluation must be continuous. Then evaluation must be specific. Okay, so you cannot simply go and evaluate everything, you need to be very specific. Evaluation should entirely based on the objectives of the training program. So whatever objectives of the training program are there, based on that you evaluate whether the objectives are achieved or no. Okay, so evaluation basically provides the means and focus for trainers to be able to appraise themselves. Okay, so when evaluation is conducted, evaluation is being framed or designed beforehand of the before implementation of the training program. So trainer will be able to analyze on what basis the trainees will be evaluated, on what basis the training program will be evaluated, and accordingly he can plan the program in a very nice way. Okay, then evaluation must be entirely based on objective methods and standards. Okay, then realistic targets to be set, and then you have to evaluate. Okay, you cannot have a sense of urgency or some deadline or some target which is unachievable. Okay, you need to have realistic objectives, right? So criteria for evaluation, what are the different criteria for evaluation? One is training validity. Did the trainees learn during the training? Okay, that is one thing you are going to evaluate. Next, transfer of validity. Okay, so what has been learned in training, has it been transferred on the job? Has it enhanced the performance of the workplace? That is to be evaluated. Third, intra-organizations validity. That means, is performance of the new group of trainees for which the training program was developed consistent with the performance of the original training group? That is to be evaluated. Okay, and then can the training program validate in one firm can be used successfully in another companies? Okay, these are various things which are to be evaluated. First thing what you're going to evaluate is, did the trainee learn during the training? Was the transfer of knowledge successful from the trainer to the trainees? Second, have the trainees who have learned everything went and gone and implemented it in the workplace? That is the second thing what you're going to understand. Third thing is, whether the new group of trainees for which training program was developed, okay, their performance, is it consistent, okay, and then whether this particular training program can it be conducted in the same way in another company. These are the things which you're going to evaluate, okay. So techniques of evaluation, we have already seen various techniques of evaluation, that is four Kirkpatrick's 4 levels of training evaluation, okay, reaction, learning, behavior, result, that we have already looked into, okay. So these are the various process of training program. Any questions here, my dear students? Any questions? Any questions in process of training? The students who were present for this. Pooja More, Prathamesh, any questions? Prathamesh, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, any questions, Prathamesh?
No, ma'am. No question.
Is the
Understood.
process understood? Okay, right. Let me move on. Right. Then moving on to impediments or barriers of training. Okay, so there are a lot of barriers for training. Right. So what are these barriers? First barrier is management commitment is lacking and uneven. Okay. So here what happens? Most of the companies do not spend money on training. Okay, those that do tend to concentrate on managers. Okay, most of the companies, they do not spend too much of money on training. Okay, certain companies think that training is waste of money, right? And some companies who really feel that they have to spend a lot on the training program, they tend to entirely concentrate on managers or technicians or professionals, right? So the rank and file workers are ignored. Okay, so too much of importance is being given for managers, technicians, and professionals. Okay, so but the rank and file workers, okay, those who are working into middle and lower level, they are being ignored. So this must change for as a result of rapid technological change combined with new approaches of organizational design and production management. Everything is changing now. Okay, so with that, workers are required to learn new ways of dealing with the things, right? So they have to look into their ability of using the new technologies, okay, and ability to maintain the technologies and ability to diagnose the problems which do attain in the come in the technologies. So all these things have to be clearly understood. Okay, so what happens in here is, so you need to create a competitive environment, that is very much required when it comes to training. Okay, so there the commitment of management is lacking or maybe uneven, or it is not equal for everyone. That is one of the barrier of training. Second barrier of training is aggregate spending on training is inadequate. Okay, so companies spend minuscule proportions of their revenues on training. Okay, worse still, budget allocation to training is first item to be cut when company faces a financial crunch. So whenever there is a financial crunch in the company, or whenever is company undergoing some financial issues or whatever it is, so that time what they do is first the thing they cut down is training cost. Okay, so that is one thing which is to be taken care of. Okay, and that becomes a barrier for training. Whenever the company goes into financial crunches, first thing what they have to do is they have to spend more on training and see to it that they build skills and motivate their employees, so that it doesn't happen certain times. Okay, so that becomes one of the impediment to effective training. Third one is educational institutions award degree but graduates lack skills. Okay, so here why businesses spend a vast amount of money to train workers in basic skills, right? Because of this particular reason, wherein educational institutions award a degree but they to the graduates, but the skills what are required are lacking. Okay, so organization have to train employees in multi skills. So managers, particularly at middle level, need to retain in team playing skills, entrepreneurship skills, leadership skills, customer orientation skills. All these are basic skills which are to be taught to the people or employees in the organization, because of lack of educational institutions which they are not giving the appropriate skills to to their students, right? Then lack of large scale poaching of trained workers, right? So trained workforce is great in demand. So what happens is poaching happens here. Poaching is getting people from other company, right? So companies in our country, however, insist on employees to sign a bond of tenure before sending them for training. Okay, so particularly before deputing them to undergo training in foreign countries, Such bonds are not effective as employees or the poachers are prepared to pay the stipulated amount as compensation when the bonds are breached. Okay, so whatever in India or maybe any other country, if you could see, whenever you are being recruited, you are asked to sign a bond as a fresher because you have to undergo a training. Okay, so that time what happens, you just sign a bond, you just go in for training program, and once the training is done, the poachers from the other companies, what they do is they just pay the amount whatever you have to pay there if you breach the bond, and then finally they poach you from that particular company to this particular company. So they have ready-made skills here. Okay, so that this is the problem which is being going, that becomes a barrier for effective training, right? Then no help to workers displaced because of downsizing, right? So organizations are downsizing and delayering in order to trim their workforce. Okay, so government should set apart a certain fund from the national renewal fund for the purpose of retraining and rehabilitating displaced workers. So that is one of the lack of the government, right? Apart from that, employers and B schools must develop closer ties, which is not there, right? So B schools often seen as not responding to labor market demands. So business is seen as not communicating its demand to B school. There is no 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 communication between the employees and the B schools. That is one of the thing which is lacking when it comes to training. Then organized labor can help. So organized labor can play a positive role in imparting training to the workers. So trade unions in our country seems to be busy in attending the mundane issues such as bonus, wage revision, settlement of disputes, and like all those things. But they are not too much concentrating on organizing their labor force. Okay, so they have little time in imparting training to their members, which is one of the lack or impediment of training. Okay, so these are various impediments of training. So we end the training here, my dear students. Let us go for selection. Okay, so till here, are there any doubts or can I go forward with selection? Students, are there any doubts?
No, ma'am.
Okay, great. Okay, so coming down to recruitment and selection, part of the recruitment I've already looked into, I've already explained you all, and I've also told you all how recruitment happens into various organizations like Amazon, IBM, and all those things, right? So moving on to basically, if we could see new interviewing tools, okay, in recruitment. So online soft skill assessment, that is one of the tool which is being used. So basically here they measure the traits like teamwork and curiosity. Okay, and give a more holistic picture of candidates earlier in the process. Okay, so Citibank is one of the company which goes into online soft skill assessments. Okay, so they have implemented such assessment system for their campus recruiting programs, leading to more diverse candidates and better understanding of their talents. Okay, so again you have job auditions, which is one of the new interviewing techniques wherein companies pay candidates to do real work so that they can observe the skills in action. Okay, so Citadel, that is American Global Financial Institution, founded in 1990. Okay, were headquartered in Chicago, as a single day-long job audition in which about 100 students compete for cash by solving real business problems with data. Okay, so this is one of the new interviewing tool. And then you have casual interviews, right? So they typically take place over a meal or can offer a unique look into the candidate's character. Okay, so famous example of it is a CEO of Charles Schwab's, right? Corporation in an American bank and stock brokeraging firm based in San Francisco, California, which was founded in 1971 by Charles Schwab. Takes candidate who He's a person who takes candidates to lunch as for the restaurants to mess up with and mess up with the orders on purpose, right? So there are plenty of other examples in the companies creatively adapting this particular concept. Then you have virtual reality, one of the new interviewing tool. Companies immerse candidates in simulated 3D environments to test their skills in standardized way. Okay, so Lloyd's Banking Group, a retail banking company headquartered in Edinburgh, United Kingdoms, has been a front runner in this particular aspect of virtual reality. Okay, and it has seen great results when it comes to reducing bias and engaging the candidates. Okay, so these are the various new interviewing techniques. Apart from that, you have video interviews. Okay, video interviews are being recorded and or live and help by tapping a border talent pool in far less time. Okay, so KPMG Australia it has a network of 147 in 147 countries with over 219,000 employees. Is a great example of a company who implements it for entry level hires. Okay, so they go in for video interviewing for entry level hires, right? So 6 recruitment trends for 2020 and beyond. Okay, so when it comes to recruitment, what does the company look into? Cultural adjusting of the candidates, right? As well as diversity and inclusion, artificial intelligence, predictive technology. Okay, that is one of the thing. As I said, analytics, predictive analytics. They have to be very much well versed with predictive analytics, right? And then dealing with economical changes, employer branding and recruitment marketing. Okay, so that is one of the trend in 2020. You have n number of advertisements being released, a number of videos being released wherein they are trying to create employer brand in the mind of the public. Okay, and trying to show the quality of the company as well as happiness of the employees in the company to the public. Okay, so that whenever a vacancy is being released, immediately you have quality candidates applying for the organization, for the post in the organization. Then social media and WhatsApp. I mean, these are various trends when it comes to recruitment. Okay, so what's in retention focused hiring? Okay, in recruitment, if you could see what is in focus, one is retention focused hiring. They just go in for retention focused hiring, and building and managing an agile workforce. That is one thing which is being looked into. They try to retain the employees and try to build agile workforce. Transparency in hiring. Okay, as I said, virtual reality and video conferencing and all, you have transparency in hiring. Okay, there is no bias in hiring. Okay, then it is increasing importance of candidate engagement. You try to engage the candidates immediately from recruitment advertisement or recruitment marketing till the candidate gets shortlisted. Then using strategic talent insights, right? Then upskilling recruiters, emphasis on employee life cycle in the employer branding. Okay, in employer branding, whatever videos are being made, they just emphasis is given to employee life cycle as to how long the employee is there in the organization, how happy he is in the organization, and too much of focus is on cross-functional skills. You cannot be skilled in only one thing. You have to be cross-functional. That means if you are MBA grad and HR, you need to be very much well versed with finance and marketing also. You cannot be saying that I am only HR and I am going to do some work of HR. No, you need to be very much comfortable and very much focused as well as expertise into finance and marketing also. Okay, and then assessing potential by various tools, new tools which are being used, and improving the interview process. Okay, and shifting understanding of diversity and inclusion. Diversity and inclusion in the sense you have n number of people from various nationalities, various castes, various creed, various genders working under one roof. Okay, so you need to see to it that everyone works under one roof. Okay, so these are various things which are being focused on. Okay, then data is the new corporate superpower. You need to be very much well versed with data. You need to have contacts. Okay, you need to be having that skill of analytics, right? So data is the new corporate superpower. Okay, so with this top uses of data and talent acquisition, so here 56% of the companies, they go in for increasing retention. Okay, rather than recruiting new employees. 50% of them evaluate skill gaps. Okay, and 50% build better offers. 46% understand candidates wants. 41% do workforce planning. 39% predict candidate success. 38% assess talent supply and demand. 31% companies talent metrics to competitors, and 29% forecast hiring demand. So all this is being done based on the data which is being available at the company. Okay, so artificial intelligence is becoming your secret workhorse. Okay, so if you want to be recruited in the best company, if you want to get the best job, you need to be well versed with this artificial intelligence. Okay, so truth, artificial intelligence has taken a strong foothold in recruiting. Okay, and will also likely to continue to take over some more repetitive aspects of your job. Okay, for example, there is already software including LinkedIn Recruiter that lets you automate candidate search and quickly find prospects that match your criteria. So in LinkedIn, if you could put your job requirement, okay, whatever the job profile, everything is being put forth. So what the LinkedIn recruiter does is it searches for prospective candidates, make them to apply for the job, and then immediately when they apply for the job, they search the prospective candidates who are matching the job. On only those candidates profiles are being shown to the employer. Okay, so that is the way in which quickly you are going to get the prospective candidates, right? So other technology can help you screen these candidates before you even speak to them. Okay, there is something called as chatbots. Okay, so here these chatbots, they chat with the candidates. This technology chats with the candidates, fixes the interview date, and then whatever problems or queries of the candidates are there, everything will be resolved through this chatbots. Okay, so chatbots respond to the candidate's question, so you don't have to do all those things. So everything is based on the technology, and who is going to control this technology? It is the human resource who have the adequate skills, right? So artificial intelligence has taken the high stand now. Career Builder is there is in a recent study indicates that job postings with videos are viewed 12% more than those without video content. Okay, so see, this is what we say recruitment marketing. Okay, so you are posting the videos, you're creating the video in such an attractive way that it is being viewed by many people. Okay, so your job postings in the videos are being viewed 12% more than without the video content. Okay, so in addition, candidates are 800% more likely to engage with the job ad if there is a video. That is what is the study which is being done by Career Builder. Okay, so please understand, students, how the face of recruitment is changing. Okay, right from traditional to what we have right now. Okay, so recruitment at Wipro, my dear students, Wipro looks for both technical competence and people who fit with its values. Okay, these are the two things which are being looked into Wipro. They have to fit to the values first. You need to be a perfect fit to the culture of that particular organization. As well, you need to have a technical competence, right? For experienced professionals, Wipro uses two-step hiring process. First, the candidate appears in the first round of interview. If they are found promising, then they go for final round of interview by the division head. For entry level hired, they are directly hired from the engineering colleges. So they pass through screening, one based on grades and other based on aptitude. So cutoff will be based on grades first, and then the aptitude test and technical test, and then afterwards they go in for various interviews with the heads of the various departments to which they are applying for. Okay, so here all this is what we see for Wipro. In Cisco, recruitment is done in a very unique way. Okay, so Cisco launches Friends program in 1996. So it launched Friends program in 1996 because it realized that candidate would approach the company if his friend informed him about better opportunities at Cisco. Okay, so company advertised the Friends program in movie theaters in San Jose and received around 100 to 150 applications each week. So see the impact here. Okay, so this is what the recruitment at Cisco is being followed. So Cisco also launched a tool called Profiler, okay, on the employment page of its website to speed up and standardize online resume submissions, right? And to speed up the hiring process, it also hired in-house headhunters to identify qualified candidates for managerial positions, basically. And then Cisco also encourages internal referrals for recruitment. So they also look into internal referrals, people from within the organization, the employees of Cisco, they will be referring the candidates, and that particular program is called as Amazing People. Okay, so these are the new trends of recruitment which are being put forth at Cisco. Now moving on to selection, my dear students. What exactly is this selection? Selection is nothing but a process by which employer uses certain methods to select candidates from a short-listed group leading to an employment decision. Okay. So what happens in selection is it is a process, okay, which it is a planned process by which the employer uses certain methods to select candidates from a short-listed group. Okay. So there is already a shortlisted group. In that shortlisted group, you are going to select who is the best match for the job. So here what happens is it goes in for selecting the candidates leading to an employment decision. So for the candidates, this is a stage in the entire recruitment cycle, okay, in which he or she comes in direct face-to-face contact with the organization. Okay. So while recruitment is a positive chain of activities producing an optimum number of job seekers, selection is a negative chain. Okay, so in recruitment, what you're going to do is you try to see to it that maximum number of employees are attracted towards the company and they apply for the job towards the company. So you go in for positive numbers, right? So you go in for increasing the number of applicants to applying for the jobs in the organization. That is a positive activity. Whereas selection, you're going to cut off the candidates who are not eligible or suitable for that particular job. So selection is being seen as inherently negative, in that it will probably involve rejection of the applicants. Okay, so here in recruitment you are going to invite the applicants. In selection you are going to reject the applicants. Okay, so it would be prudent to argue that selection decisions should be based on the range of selection tools, okay, as some have poor predictive job ability. Okay, so a process to divide the candidates into two groups, namely those selected and those rejected, it is nothing but selection. Okay, so process of selection, when we speak about the process of selection, my dear students, okay, so here when it comes to the process of selection, first the process is preliminary interview. Screening of the applications is being done. After screening of the application, there will be preliminary interview which will be conducted. Okay, so here what is this preliminary interview? Okay, so it was stated that applications received from job seekers would be subject to scrutiny, okay, so as to eliminate unqualified applicants. So this is usually forwarded by a preliminary interview, okay, the purpose of which is more or less same as scrutiny of the application. So what you're going to do is you scrutinize who are the best suit for the job or vacancy which is there, and eliminate unqualified applications. Okay, so scrutiny basically enables HR specialists to eliminate unqualified job seekers based on the information supplied in their application form. Okay, so whatever application form is being given, in that particular application form they're going to fill the information. Okay, and then you go in for having a preliminary screening, and then you have a preliminary interview. Okay, which helps reject the misfits for the reasons which did not appear in the application form. So in preliminary interview, you are going to analyze or you are going to ask questions related to something which is not there in the application. Okay, so based on that, if you find that something which is not there in the application, and then you are going to ask questions about that, and you in those answers, if you find the candidate is not a right fit for the job, that time you reject. So besides preliminary interview, often called the courtesy interview, is a good public relation exercise. So you're going to build a better relationship with the candidates. Okay, so if he is rejected now, in future if there is any job vacancy, you can immediately go in for hiring that particular candidate. Okay, so preliminary interview is the first impression what the company puts forth in the mind of the candidate. Okay, then you have the selection test, my dear students. Okay, am I going fast, students? Is it being understood? Is it being understood, students? Shubham Nagrale, Prachi, Sanjana, Kirti Desai. Am I going
Yes, ma'am.
fast?
Ma'am, understand, but
Yes,
please
ma'am.
go a little bit slow.
Slow. Okay, fine. Right. So I hope you have understood the selection process here. First step of selection process is preliminary interview. Before preliminary interview is being done, the applications are being received by the HR department. HR department go in for scrutinizing each and every application, and they reject unqualified applications there and then itself. After that, application blank is being filled by the candidates. Okay, so candidates will be filling the company application. Okay, uh, so after the candidate filling the application, they go in for preliminary interview. That means they take a face-to-face interview or a telephonic interview with the candidate. Maximum time it will be telephonic interview. They tell about the company and put forth the impression about the company in the mind of the candidate, and there they just go in for asking certain questions which are not there in the application form. Okay, so then they analyze whether the candidate is a qualified candidate for this particular job or unqualified. If it is unqualified candidate, immediately they will reject, and if it is qualified, they go for the next round of selection, that is various tests which are being conducted. Okay, So job seekers who pass the screening, okay, and the preliminary interview, okay, they are put forth for various tests. Okay, so different type of test may be administered. So there will be different types of tests depending on the job. So based on the profile of the job, okay, the tests are being conducted. Fine. So there are various types of tests which are conducted, which will be looking into the next slide. Okay, I'll be telling you all what are different types of tests, like ability test, personality test, okay, aptitude test. Then afterwards you have you know various type of different tests which are the graphology test. Okay, so all these tests are being conducted, and then when the candidate passes the test which is being conducted relevant to that particular job, then they go for employment interview. Okay, then they go for face to face employment interview. Right, now what is this employment interview? Okay, employment interview is nothing but interview in a formal and in-depth conversation. So there will be formal interview, face-to-face interview, and in-depth conversation between the applicant and the interviewer. Okay, so it is considered to be an excellent selection device because you are seeing the candidate in front of you. Okay, and you're going to ask questions related to certain no, related to the job. Okay, so here you have to look into various things. Okay, so in its popularity stems from its flexibility. Okay, so interview can be adapted to unskilled, skilled, managerial and professional employees. Okay, so there are n number of types of interviews which can be conducted. So it allows two-way exchange of information. Okay, so till now it was one-way exchange of information. Now here you have two-way exchange of information. The interviewer learns about the applicant and applicant learns about the employer. The candidate who has applied for the job, the applicant will be learning about the company, as well as the interviewer will be learning about the applicant. Okay, so interview do have certain shortcomings. That is, absence of reliability is one of the limitation. Okay, no two interviewers offer similar scoring after interviewing an applicant. Lack of validity is another limitation. All these are various other limitations which to come in. Okay, so employment interview can be one-to-one, sequential, or panel. Okay, so one-to-one, that is one interviewer and one candidate. Okay, that is one-to-one interview. Sequential, a number of interviewers, and then panel of, sorry, sequential. It can be sequential, one by one, and then you have panel. That is no one one candidate and 4 to 5 interviewers. Okay, so this is what we say. So one-to-one interview is one candidate, one interviewer. Sequential interview is one candidate, one interviewer, one candidate, one interviewer, one candidate, one interviewer. That means for same post, three different interviewers in three different cabins, and sequentially the candidates will be taken. Okay, so one by one, fine. And then you have the panel interview, that is 4 to 5 interviewers interviewing one person at a time. Okay, so these are different types of these are different employment interviews techniques, right? So types of interviews, there are any number of types of interviews: structured interview, unstructured interview. Structured interview which is planned, unstructured which is not planned. Okay, so here you have a number of interviews which we'll be seeing into the next slides. Okay, now moving on to next, my dear students, reference. After the interview, employment interview is being done and the candidate is being selected, then they go in for reference and background analysis or reference and background check. Okay, so here, my dear student, whenever you apply for a job, first thing what they do is they go in for scrutinizing the application. Okay, and then they go in for filling the application blank. That means a blank application will be given by the company to you. You have to fill it and submit it back. Okay, and then they go for preliminary interview. If you pass in the preliminary interview, they put you for the selection test. Okay, it may be aptitude test, ability test, whatever it is, based on the job which you are applying for. Once you are done with the selection test, once you pass the selection test, then there will be employment interview. Okay, so once you're done with the employment interview and you are being selected, then there is a reference and background analysis, right? So many employers request name, address, and telephone number or reference for the purpose of verification information and perhaps gaining additional background information on the applicant. Okay, so here applicant in the application blank which is being given at the start, they ask you for references. Okay, who is the person whom we can ask about you? Okay, So that is what is called as reference. Okay, so when the labor market is very tight, firms sometimes hire applicants before checking references. But when the labor market is not tight, you have n number of supply of labor, that time you go for reference checking. So here, what references you will be checking? One is if you are a new hire, in the sense, if you are a fresher, then they check references from your HODs, from your faculties, from your college, from no, from your friends. Apart from that, if you are already an experienced employee, then they check references from your previous employer. Okay, so here university professors, okay, previous employers known in public figures or friends act as a reference, right? So previous employers are preferably because they are trustworthy and they are
Ma'am, your voice is not audible. Ma'am, your voice is not audible now.
Right. So I'll take the remaining part in the next class, students. Thank you.
Okay, ma'am.